the folks that turned out, all the veterans of the scene. It's great. And we welcome Janice as she's walking by. Memorial insert for all the folks that are no longer with us. Sandy laid out a great case.
He did, and I'm very, very pleased with how that came out. So I'm sure I need to talk about something else, but and then later, caustic soda. She currently works in criminal defense and is a writer, as well as a proud parent to kids from foster care. So I'm going to turn it over to Renee.
God, I want to see so many people from the past. This is amazing. And just a huge shout out to Janice and Mark for bringing everybody together. This is really obviously a total labor of love. Here, I guess let's start here. You know, in 1982, I was a 15-year-old street kid living downtown Portland. A lot of you guys remember those days of the wall and what it was like down here. I spent all my time on the second floor of the library here, reading books. And then in the nighttime, I'd go out on the streets, and it was there that I met punk kids. And I found a place that a misfit like me could be accepted. Maybe not accepted, tolerated at least. And so yeah, it was the libraries and the punk community that saved my life.
So anyway, my last name Sigmuller, a lot of people know me by the name of Noise. I had a nickname called Noise and Urban Noise. Also had a club called Urban Noise. Always interested in music, started going to shows when I was a little kid. And so just sort of evolved in the mid-70s to being interested in bands like the Ramones, the Sex Pistols. A few of the people down here, John and Mike King, met early on. They started putting on shows, and everybody here on the panel, which you'll meet shortly, got involved in the 70s. It was encouraged. It didn't just have to be in a band and be in the background. You could go and make posters if need be. You could sweep the floor. You could go just put up posters. But everybody could be involved.
Gresham area when I was younger, 15, 16. And I went downtown with some friends, theater friends, to Mildred's, if anybody remembers Mildred's. So that was probably the first place I started going to and started getting connected up with people. And my brother he's a guitar player and he plays rock, but some of his guys out there in that band had connections to Ice Nine. So we had a connection there and I started hearing about bands and things going on. There was nothing going on in Gresham except for roller rink. Right? Met up with Leslie Reese and Shelley and Angie Mima, and we ended up starting up the Grassmers, and that was sort of my first step into it.
So, greetings, old people and future old people. I'm Mike King. You are. Almost all of these bands were horrible. They were not. They were.
We had heart.
Certainly not brains, but yeah. I mean, I don't know. I went to hippie school. I did outlandish things in high school. Got beat up for being a fag. They had this thing about punk rock, and I didn't hardly even understand it, but I thought it was going to be important. So I got out my little cassette recorder, and on this thing was they apparently had hired a hall and actually put on a show. The Sex Pistols performed, and the Damned performed, and the Jam or something like that. And I just like, I knew this was going to be important. So for quite a few months, I just had this little cassette, and I would, and they did like almost a whole song, and then it was like, so that's that, and started like putting the pieces together, and then and now here I am.
into punk rock because I was a young teenager that loved rock and roll. And at the time that I was a young teenager, until rock, there was no way for girls to get into rock and roll unless they were a sexy singer or, you know, maybe if they were really cool, they would play bass.
And like to.
Anyway, so I started seeing, I used to read rock and roll magazines all the time, and at some point there were pictures of the Ramones and the Sex Pistols and Patti Smith in the back of Hit Parader magazine. And there was several girls that we grew up with, that I grew up with in a hellhole called Hazel Hell, which is in Hazeldale. Actually, I live there. So we were like, okay, we can do this. We're girls, we can do this. And the first band that I was in was called Formica and the Bitches, and Formica's over here. I remember Formica saying, being impatient because she was the singer and we were trying to learn how to play the songs. She's like, can't you just make up chords?
Born in Eugene. I was about 13 in '77. So the show came on. I saw the Ramones on Don Kirshner. I saw the Weekend show. I was always into rock and roll, always into music. And I would go to the store every day waiting for the new Kiss record to come out. And I had the Ramones record, the second record, and I loved it. But I invested my life into being a Kiss fan. So I was waiting every day. I was waiting for the Kiss record to come out. And one day it came out, and I took it home, and I was listening to it. And I remember listening to it and looking at the Ramones record, and looking at the Kiss record, and looking at the Ramones record, and looking at the Kiss record. And I just said, this is it. This is it. Tore down all my posters, tore up one of my father's shirts, ran away to Portland, and went to a show and saw John Shirley jump on stage with Smegma. I saw 19 by 20. I think the Wipers played one of their first shows. Let me see how we can do this. Started a band, went into Whiz Eagles, and rented a PA system. Paid 1 month, and then kept running away every time Fred would try to come up and run away. They were in pieces. Knew Michelle from Gresham. Ran away, I had nowhere to live, so Stan rented me a room in his place. Auditioned for Smegma. Michael took me down to the basement and I played a Crass song.
Mark's stand was very much important in organizing that, and I don't think a lot of it would have happened without him. He's here somewhere, and he's written a great book, All Ages, which we can still get copies of, and it has the whole story of how exactly what you're talking about here happened. So be sure to get a copy of it. All right. It was a great part of my past of the original Sega Nation and the great Sega Nation that came later. Dude. You know, Mish Bondage. These were critical to that period of punk rock in Portland, bands like this. And they became actually skillful later on. Michael Ambrose is still chronicling. He did the best videos. You can actually hear the bands and what they sounded like.
Meat puppets.
Well, I have not some fond memories of the Meat Puppets. We were doing a show, they were second bill to Black Flag at a show we were doing at Portland State, Smith Ballroom there. Beautiful floor. Wanted the Meat Puppets. That didn't last long, especially with their help. So wanted the wheels out of the corner of one of the speaker cabinets. So their idea was rather than put the wheel back in and pop down, they would just keep pushing it about 25 feet across the newly refinished floor. and thought it was funny, except we were the ones that had to pay for it, who put on the show, and we had to negotiate with the school to be able to play Black Flag and the Meat Puppets to be able to leave town. So,
You two on stage, the first time I heard that in, was it Euphoria? The one with the cement floor and the big stage, okay, the high stage. And I think that's the same night Fred threw his guitar around his neck and the strap broke, bam, went smashed, broke the neck in the middle of the floor. That was one of the first Rat shows that we played. Must have been Pacific Academy, it was a basement gig. God, they were amazing. I was like, oh my God, if I can, it's just amazing for me to see all these kids grow up. Yeah, well, hey, I was. Louis Zamora still calls me Tootie, I know you're the mom of course. But I mean, most of the
Okay, well, okay. So the Brassmers were terrible, and people either loved us or they threw ashtrays at us and did other things. One time I was at the Long Goodbye and I had these like high heel shoes on. I was wanting to go out in the pogo and I forget who was playing, but the Wipers were going to be coming on next. And I went out there and I'm jumping up and down, dancing, and I landed on a broken ashtray that somebody threw. Held my foot up. Everyone's trying to talk me into going to the hospital. I'm like, give me a bar rack. Yeah, my foot up. The Wipers are playing. I'm not leaving yet. So I stayed. I got to see the Wipers. Corbo used to give me advice before a show. He'd say, Mish, don't start a riot. Just don't start a riot. One time we were on the road, California. Was it San Luis Obispo? Or where did we get run out of town?
I don't know.
Anyway, it was a small town. These kids had cobbled all their money together to rent a hall so that we could, you know, headline the show.
San Luis Obispo.
San Luis Obispo. And
San Luis
and we started
Abysmal.
playing, and then the cops come in and shut us down.
Cops.
And yeah, fucking cops, man. And they put the show together. Anyway, this kid said, my parents are out of town, come to my house and play. So we loaded all the gear up, took the band over to this kid's house, you know, started drinking beer, playing. Fucking same cop showed up. Said, I'm going to confiscate you. Get the hell out of town or I'm going to confiscate your gear. So we didn't get to finish the set.
I don't know how I'm supposed to follow that. So we're talking about shows? Is that what we're doing? Oh, we're talking about shows. Well, okay, the one sticks out where we used to have this club for a short time. All the clubs were for a short time. This club called Clockwork Joe's.
Yeah, that's
And we lived there, yes. We also lived there. And we had made rooms for practice rooms and also dwellings that we lived in. And the capacity for the hall was only 50. And sometimes we actually had more than 50. And occasionally the fire marshal would be called. And it was one of those old-fashioned halls where it was up at the top of the flight of stairs. So someone was always positioned down at the bottom of the stairs, and if the fire marshal would come, they'd run up the stairs, fire marshal's coming, fire marshal's coming, and we would grab people and shove them in the practice room, and tell them to be quiet, shh, wait till he's gone. So, that's what I remember.
She mentioned Clockwork Joe's. I hope she doesn't steal my story. I hope she doesn't steal my story. But the wildest show, I mean, there's been dozens, hundreds of shows, but this one, it was Katie's birthday party at Clockwork Joe's. And it was a private party upstairs. My newly formed band, Poison Idea, played, and it was kind of a cross between really fast punk rock and performance art. We would do like crazy stuff. And we had this song called M80, which was like a quarter stick of dynamite. So during this song, I would light a stick of M80 and I'd throw it in the crowd. So we're playing and we're doing this song and the whole place is just drunk. And luckily Tom Robinson was there. He made a tape of it. Unfortunately, Tom Robinson was there and the M80 landed right behind him. And I just remember playing it, and the song was only 45 seconds long, but I remember seeing Tom just jump out of the booth and kaboom, the scene went off, and then the next song went on. But that was
State of Nation, or it might have been the Monitors, where it was New Year's, and there was Christmas trees all around the room, and I jumped down, and during the show, I rode a Christmas tree around. Pieces of broken Christmas light bulbs and things were flying everywhere, and I felt that was some kind of spontaneous performance art. It just, I don't know, it made me feel good.
Our band never made it to the end of the tour. Did it ever make it to the, maybe once?
Come on. It'd be
Our
crazy.
band would break down sometimes.
It would break down frequently,
Frequently.
but we never missed a show.
But we never missed a show.
No.
Right. So you should be okay.
Just go.
Because I'm negative Nelly.
Just go.
Anyway, so we had these old National Enquirers and beer in the band. And there was a story about the Mole Man, and we were making jokes, the Mole Man. And we're making jokes about we're, gonna get kidnapped by the Mole Man. And all of a sudden the band breaks down in the desert, the Mojave Desert. And we left Poor Boy and Chuck with the band. And me and Steve were gonna hitchhike out to get help or make a phone call or get a tow or do something. And these guys picked us up. These bikers picked us up and took us to a biker party. And we couldn't get out of there. So, as you do. So we were there for, until the next day, and then we finally managed to get somebody to give us a ride back to the van. At that point, Poor Boy and Chuck had already called. We had friends in Glendale. I think you guys must have called them. Anyway, we managed to get a trailer and get the van towed. So we got back in time to not get left.
There's, in one of the cases that Sandy put together, the media case, it has Mish there on it, front cover of the Oregonian. To the left, there's a review from John Wendeborn, who used to write for years, and ended up being supportive of the scene. And a little begrudgingly in the beginning he wasn't, but eventually he was. Down at the Met on 3rd and Burnside, and we used to average about 200 to 300 people for some reason, and Poison Idea was on that bill, and I believe some reason people just kept coming, and I think the capacity room was 350 or 4, and I felt really bad, like when we got to almost 500 people. And so they also had, it was kind of interesting, they had a sub-band called Nick Heist, which their roadie, Mugger, Mugger was the lead singer in Insult Artists. And they would dress up in long wigs, do that, and play like Ted Nugent covers. And get everybody really pissed. And the thing about, anyway, at the show, the Met, the way it used to be, the stage was in the corner. Luckily, the ceiling was low, but the curtains didn't go all the way to the floor. So people, when I was out there and announced Black Flag, people were starting to lift up the corners of the curtains because they could see the feet going across. What happened, so the curtain went in so many different directions that it pulled the curtain down, knocked down the stage light, hit me on the head. I'm laying on the floor bleeding in darkness. Henry Rollins, the lead singer of Black Flag, has decided he's going to hurt the person who killed Fred. Just the crowd starts swinging. Luckily, they were used to the lights going out. Somebody was at the breaker box, flipped things on. The show got started. I ended up sitting at the bar. I wasn't smart enough to go to the
Sense
hospital.
of community, and it was just with all of us dings and, oddballs and freaks and whatever. But that kind of camaraderie is something that obviously doesn't go away. I mean, you can tell we still really enjoy each other's company. And, there was, it's like any other time in history, there was a lot of sad, fucked up stuff about it, and there was a lot of incredibly cool stuff about it. So I love seeing how everybody has gone on with their lives, done something, and, a lot of us, at some point, nobody gave us credit to, that anything would ever happen. And maybe without not knowing each other and encouraging each other and having that kind of open-ended love and acceptance at that particular time. A lot of us would have made it through. Quite a few didn't.
It's an opportunity and hard work. Because when I came in, I had a brother who was a guitar player. He was great, and we had bands rehearsing in the basement since I was very small. But I sang in a church choir and sang school choir, and I wanted to be a singer, but I wasn't much of a musician. And I did get my first bass from Woods Eagles for the Brass Smears. But when Lisa left, Dave gave me the opportunity to come in and sing with Sato, and I did have to audition with other people. He made me watch the other people audition. And then we put in a lot of hard work and a lot of hours and a lot of road time, and he had so much experience and songwriting experience, and because he'd been playing in bands since when? In San Francisco. years and years and years. And
I was 10 years old when I got it.
yeah.
It was from a music studio I was taking lessons at. And to get you to play better, they would put you in a little group. So that was my first experience with playing with other musicians. Well, I was talking to her. Experiences was mainly because at the studio where I took guitar lessons, they wanted us to play with other people. So we would learn how to, work in a band, which was the goal. So my first experience, I was really young playing with people and learning how to do my, how do you say, my dictatorship as a band leader. A lot of people thought I was pretty harsh, but I came from an experience of artists and things that knew what they were about. And when I was playing with other musicians, I figured that they knew what they were about too. And I never really offered a lot of compliments or praise on them until much later in my career. Let your musicians know that you appreciate it. And which I always did, John, and Lisa, and Mish. I did appreciate everybody I worked with, really. I just didn't compliment you enough, okay?
And I've kept this over the years, and we still play some Sato songs. I have a band. So Sato was going to do a last album, and we threw around the name Pornopolis, Portland. And we never got to do that album, but when I came back I lived in Britain for years, and when I came back, we formed a band. We played a very heavy Sato set, and we named it Pornopolis in honor of the last album that we never got to do. But as you were saying, the community, a lot of us are still in touch. Now, we're still in touch frequently. And I have to say over my life, school, high school, whatever, all the other things I've done, I have not stayed in touch with my community the way we've stayed in touch with, our punk and music community here. And it's been an amazing journey with everybody.
History unto itself is fairly useless. A series of anecdotes or remembrances or whatever. All well and good, but mostly bullshit. I think what makes history important is how it I can't figure out the word. How it informs the present. And the fact that all these weirdos did whatever, made this loud racket, and just did it, and that you could do it.
Saying just in the moment, so that I'm sitting here now talking about it is kind of a shock, actually. I mean, it's great that you guys remember it, but that's not really what punk was really about. It was really about doing things in the moment. But how I would like it to be remembered, I guess I would like it to be remembered as people that cooperated with each other and helped each other out and encouraged one another. And even though we were a bunch of weirdos, and it wasn't all great. There was some really, a lot of darkness. There was a lot of darkness that people never talk about when you're talking about
The drapes.
The drapes, it was so dark.
And the flooring.
There are more punk rock bands in Portland right now than there have ever been. There's so many of them. And we're still, and people who are playing back then are still playing. You know, like that Subway sex song, you don't know the future ain't gonna know you. So it's like, we just keep, it's nice that we're here, it's nice, but yeah, I'm not ready to remember that time yet. It's still going on as far as I'm concerned.
A lot of the people in punk rock bands were alienated from families and from schools and from their community as a whole, and so they were pretty lonely. And they were creative people and didn't have a medium, but they were naturally creative. Weirdos are usually pretty creative. They live their lives creative. And suddenly this thing came up from England and New York City. Richard Hell in New York and all these guys, Ramones, that told us here's an alternative. And it's still happening now. We created a local version of that alternative, sort of place for alienated people and weirdos and creative people at a street level to come together. And that is still happening, as somebody just said, the punk rock scene is very strong here now, and because that way of coming together in that beautiful noise, and that just really is very visceral and lets you get out all this stuff that you just cannot bear to have inside you. Oh man, you know, that is something that is going to stick around, because it is an art form that does something for ordinary people, that it doesn't take very much to get involved in it. You know, it's a kind of folk music is what it is. Amplified folk music, and it answers a need, and it'll continue to answer that need.
coming down that street. You got trouble. Don't try to come my way. I give you trouble. I can't stand a freak like you. Wearing them different suits, I give you trouble. I give you trouble.